Welcome to The Explainer. In a world where AI can just invent facts, how do you actually prove anything? Today, we're looking at a system that totally sidesteps AI's guesswork for something much older, much more reliable, good old-fashioned mathematical proof. We're talking about creating a record so solid you could take it to court.
So let's just get right to the heart of the problem, right? This is the core dilemma for pretty much every company using generative AI. When your AI gives you an answer, how can you be sure it's not just hallucinating? And maybe more importantly, what happens when that bad answer costs you a ton of money or lands you in legal trouble? What's your defense?
Now, the typical solution you see out there is kind of like fighting fire with fire. You use a second AI to judge what the first one said. But think about it, that's just layering one probability on top of another. It's really expensive, it can be slow, and it's definitely not a guarantee. The Uptergrove Nexus engine just throws that whole idea out the window. It replaces the AI judge with something you can actually prove, pure mathematics. So what exactly is this thing? Well, the folks who built it call it a military-grade deployable stack. That's a fancy way of saying it's a monolithic system. Everything is packaged together in one secure, self-contained unit. You can almost picture it as this sealed black box, designed for maximum security and to be super simple to deploy. Let's crack it open and see what's inside. As you can see, the whole setup is built like a fortress. You've got a single API entry point, a hardened database to store all the logs, an SDK for developers to plug into, and right there at the center of it all, a proprietary, compiled math engine. And pay attention to that word compiled. That little detail is super important, and we'll get to exactly why in just a minute. Okay, so let's follow the data. Let's trace a single request as it makes its way through the system. You're going to see how every single interaction follows the exact same super strict, repeatable process. This is how they create that final, ironclad guarantee. The whole thing is designed for what you'd call transactional integrity. It's this really clean four-step journey. First, authentication makes sure you are who you say you are. Then, a quick credit check for billing. Step 3, the core math engine does its thing. And finally, and this is key, the result is logged forever, creating that permanent, undeniable record. Security is buttoned up from the very first moment. The system never even stores your real API key. Instead, it uses a cryptographic standard called HMAC SH256. This basically turns your key into a unique signature that can be verified again and again. But, and here's the cool part, it can never be reverse engineered to find your original key. It is a one-way street for data security. All right, now we're at the absolute heart of the system, the engine itself. But when we look inside this black box, we don't find another, mysterious AI. What we find is something much, much clearer. Pure,